It's so you get these kind of like ethnic Chinese gangs on the border of China, and they start pressing tons, like millions and millions of pills, and they start seeping into all of Southeast Asia. So you get huge problems in like from Tokyo to Manila to Melbourne. Like it just floods the world. It's way bigger than the cocaine industry. You get a guy called Seichi Lop, who's a Burmese Canadian national. He's the biggest drug lord in history. He's worth, I think, is around 9 or 10 times what El Chapo was worth at his height. Because they didn't do the violence. They just operated completely immune to anything. So they didn't need to go to battle with anyone. They didn't make the headlines. They didn't sort of, gun down officials in their cars. They just grinded and they made billions. I think Seichi Lot was arrested, I think, in 2021, and he was worth around 17 or 18 billion dollars at the time. And his, the company, as they're called, that they're still going now. And they're still flooding the world with meth.
And is he just in prison right now?
Yeah, I don't know if his trial has begun. He got arrested in Amsterdam, weirdly. It was like a real international effort to bring him to justice. I think he might have been extradited since, but we won't be hearing much about him being involved in the drug trade anymore. I think he's going to be under lock and key. But so that's the kind of history of how the meth trade comes out, the opium trade. Same story in Afghanistan, Pakistan, like similar kind of story with opium. As usual, you're seeing it with fentanyl now. You don't have to build a gigantic farm. You don't have to pay thousands of laborers. You don't have to like harvest it. You're not subject to the weather or the climate. So you can just make synthetic drugs now easier, cheaper, stick them on the back of a wagon, put them on a boat, easy. It's not like it was in the old days. And that's what's made part of the Pacific drug trade so much easier to do now, is that the literal physical space that the drugs are taking up is less.
Yeah, you talk about the Pacific Drug Highway. Can you tell me, kind of explain exactly what that is and how it's become important for the cartels?
Yeah, I guess firstly, it's important to kind of get the vastness of the Pacific into context, because if you're going from, say, Guayaquil in Ecuador all the way over to, I'm in Wellington, right, the capital of New Zealand. If you're coming over here, I think that's like 10 or 11,000 miles. It's half the planet you're coming across. It's gigantic. Most nations in this part of the world don't consider themselves small island nations. They consider themselves huge ocean nations, right? And because of the migration, which is one of the greatest stories of human history, really, how people managed to even get to these places like 1,000 years ago, they don't feel that the ocean divides them. They see it as a giant connector. So that's kind of, the context of where we are in the Pacific. But also, as the rough route is that you will have a port on the western side of Latin America. So Guayaquil has become one of the biggest ones as authorities have cracked down in, say, Colombia and Peru and other countries. They've done a decent job of sort of pushing the cartels out. Then it will sail out to the Marquesas, which is an island group in French Polynesia. Very pretty. I would recommend that for people's vacations if they've got the money.
I have it pulled up and I'm looking at it as you say it.
Are you looking at it? It's amazing, right?
I'm pulling it all and looking at it all because this is all unfamiliar to me.
Yeah, it's the kind of place you're going to see on like People magazine, and Tom Cruise has gone there on holiday or something. Like, it's nuts. This is like Bora Bora. So you would go, basically, to simplify it, you would go left or right. You would hit the Marquesas and you would take a left turn or a right turn. You would bend around the north side of the Pacific Islands, and you maybe would touch countries in Micronesia. These are countries that almost no one knows anything about, like FSM, Nauru, Kiribati, and Palau. You get to Guam. Guam is in Micronesia, so Americans might know about Guam. Or you go south, right, and you might hit Tonga or Samoa, or you might hit Fiji, and then you would get down to New Zealand. So you can kind of see it on the map, right? You could split and kind of bend in a banana shape around the Marquesas, and you would get to any of those territories. You would eventually get to either the north coast or the south coast of Australia, which is, again, gigantic, the size of the United States, bigger. So you could get in through Brisbane, in through Melbourne. And Melbourne and Sydney are kind of like the real prizes for these groups. They're just awash with drugs, and they really, really have a really vibrant underworld. There's a big Kurdish, Lebanese gang scene in Melbourne, especially. Arab gangs in Sydney, but there's everyone. I mean, everyone's playing in this place. There's just so much money to be made, and increasingly here in Auckland, which is a city of like 1.5 million people. It's not that big. In Wellington, I mean, it's like 500,000 people max. They're not big places. They just pay a hell of a lot of money. So that's really where the highway goes. And the other thing that the cartels can do is that they can use these tight-knit communities that are the leadership in Tonga, for example. I mean, I'm pulling a number off the top of my head, but I reckon there can only be about 60, 70,000 people in Tonga. And so the people that run the countries, they're sort of clan and family based, right? Once you get to one of them, you're good to go. It's not like you have to go through a giant bureaucracy if you're a gangster. You pay one person off, you can pay a bunch of people off. They're relatively easy to sort of, rock up and moor your boat in. Almost no oversight. No one's checking containers. Shipping routes across the Pacific are ramping up crazy amounts as people are trying to, like there's all kinds of political issues around the world that people are trying to avoid when they're shipping, I don't know, kids' toys and iPhones and whatnot. So more stuff is coming through the Pacific on ships. And so more, stuff is too.
Hey guys, I wanted to give a shout out to a company I've trusted for over 11 years, First Form. They make high quality supplements, protein powders, vitamins, performance products, everything you need to support your health, fitness, and recovery. Look, my weight goes up and down like a lot of us, but when I'm dialed in and focused on my health, these are the products I trust. Their Formula 1 protein powder is my go-to after every workout. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, hands down, is my favorite flavor. I use it after every workout and it tastes amazing. They have other flavors too, like salted caramel, red velvet, and chocolate mint cookie. Not a protein shake person? No problem.